Konnichiwa, Professor Sato.
Hi-san, konnichiwa. How are you?
I'm good, Sensei.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, Sensei.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, I think Ibu Direktur udah ada. Terima kasih. So, Professor Sato, this is our Director of Graduate School at Andalas University, Professor Henny Lucida.
Thank you very much. Very nice to meeting you, Professor Lucida.
Nice to meet you too, Prof. Sato. How are you this morning?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for coming for our webinar to join our webinar this morning.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for
Thank
inviting
you.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, Professor Sato, and also there is Dr. Heri Bahrizal Tanjung. He is chairman of a study program in innovation and communication development. Pak Heri.
Yeah,
Okay, very nice to meet you.
very nice to meet you. Sato, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
we will start in 10 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen.
okay.
Izin Bu Direktur, kita mulai kegiatannya Bu.
Ya, gimana Pak Heri? Should we start now or wait?
Boleh lah Bu, pelan-pelan
Okay.
aja. Peserta nampak pelan-pelan, mulai aja lah Bu.
Oke, Fuad ya. Ya.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the lecture and learning session series 38 with the theme Collaborative Work for Sharing Knowledge and Driving Innovation. My name is Fuad and I'm honored to serve as your host today. This event is organized by Master Program in Extension and Development Communication, the Graduate School of Andalas University, and we are very pleased to start our program at 10 o'clock in this morning. We truly appreciate your presence both on-site and online. To begin is our session. Let us give our warmest appreciation to everyone who has joined us today. May this event bring us fruitful discussion and valuable insight. First agenda, welcoming remarks. Now, it's my great honor to invite the Director of Graduate School of Andalas University, Professor APT Heni Lucida, PhD, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Please, Ibu Professor.
Okay, thank you, Fuad. Good morning. Morning in Western Indonesian time to our respected guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me greet our guest speaker this morning, Professor Tetso Sato from Ehime University and a senior researcher at the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature. Thank you for joining us today. We are delighted to have you as a speaker at the 38th Lecture and Learning Session series today. This webinar has been held by the School of Graduate Studies Andalas University since past 3 years, which attended by teaching staff, postgraduate students, government officials, researchers, and publics. This event aims to provide a forum for discussion, enlightening the audience regarding current issues, and also as a promotion for Andalas University graduate schools. The theme of this morning's event is a collaborative work for sharing knowledge and driving innovation. Is relevant to our tagline, namely multidisciplinary cooperations and solutions. Prof. Sato, we have 9 multidisciplinary study programs at the School of Graduate Studies, one doctoral program, Doctor of Development Studies, and 7 master program, Master of Rural Area Development, Master of Environmental Science, Master of Natural Resource Management, Master of Development Communication, Master of Biotechnology, Master of Housing and Settlement, Master of Disaster Management, and the professional engineering education program, study program. To all the audience this morning, we wish you a happy webinar and a happy discussion. Thank you again for Prof. Sato time to have a discussion with us this morning. Thank you, Fuad. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof. Heni Lucida, for the encouraging and inspiring words today. Next agenda, keynote presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the keynote session. Today, we are privileged to have with us Professor Tetso Sato, from Emeritus Professor at Ehime University and Senior Researcher at the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature, as our keynote speaker today. This session will be moderated by Dr. Ami Sukma Utami, lecturer at the Socioeconomic Department of Andalas University. I would like to invite Dr. Ami Sukma Utami to lead this session. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Fuad. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our lecture and learning sharing session. It is truly wonderful to see you here today, postgraduate and undergraduate students who eager to learn and hopefully be inspired with lecture today. So my name is Ami Sukma Utami, and I will be your moderator for this session. So it is my great pleasure and also my personal honor to introduce our distinguished guest speaker today. Professor Sato is not only a respected scholar, but also someone very close to me personally, as he was my co-supervisor during my doctoral study in Japan. Before we begin Professor Sato presentation, please allow me to share a brief introduction about his career and experiences. So Professor Sato has had a long and distinguished academic career. He received his Doctor of Science from Sophia University and served in various key positions, including at the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature in Kyoto and as distinguished professor at Ehime University. His research interests cover social ecological systems, integrated natural resources management, biosphere research, adaptive governance, and transdisciplinary approach to sustainability. Importantly, Professor Sato is also one of the author of the influential book entitled Transformation of Social Ecological System, Studies in Co-Creating Integrated Knowledge Toward Sustainability. So in this book, Professor Sato contributed a chapter based on his field research in Malawi, which highlight how collaboration and knowledge co-creation between scientists and local communities can lead to sustainable innovation. Professor Sato work show us that innovation does not only come from technology or research lab, but often come from the creativity of local communities. So today, Professor Sato will be sharing his insight on transdisciplinary collaboration and co-creation of knowledge for autonomous innovation, a case of artificial fishing reef construction in Lake Malawi. So I believe this topic is not only highly relevant for us academically, but also very meaningful in terms of practical application. So I encourage you to all pay attention and maybe take notes and prepare your question for the discussion later. So for Professor Sato information, so most of our participant here are graduate student from Andalas University, especially from the extension and communication development study program, Sensei. So before we begin, just a quick reminder, please keep your microphone muted during the presentation. If you have a question, you are welcome to write them in the chat box or raise your hand during a Q&A session. So without further ado, let us warmly welcome Professor Sato. Professor Sato, before we begin, I would like to kindly inform you that the committee has allocated about 1 hour for your presentation, so followed by Q&A question after that. Professor Sato, the floor is yours. So, sumimasen, Sensei, Sensei will present the PPT from your laptop or?
Yes, I will use my laptop.
Okay.
I would like to share the file, share
Okay.
the presentation. Yep.
Okay, Sensei.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ami-san, and also Professor Lucida for kind introduction. Probably already Dr. Utami explained quite a lot about what I will talk, so that I can quickly start with what I have prepared. And thank you very much for everyone for joining this opportunity. So may I share my presentation now?
Yes,
Yes.
please. Yeah.
Thank you. Is that okay for you? You can see this screen and my pointer on it?
It's okay, bro.
Okay, thank you very much. So as already explained, I have been working quite a lot in rural communities, especially in Africa and especially in Malawi. This is this photo of Lake Malawi. And today I'd like to give you some insight about transdisciplinary collaboration and co-creation of knowledge, which I and my colleagues have been working quite a long time with the community member of Lake Malawi. And we were quite successful in finding really fabulous, interesting examples of autonomous innovations that emerges in the community. And I would like to pick up one case study, a case of artificial fishing reef construction in Lake Malawi. And this is the the scene of fishing on this particular artificial fishing reef to introduce you about the importance of transdisciplinary approach and also its outcomes, and also some technical details about the methodology we have been applying in this particular area. First of all, I'd like to briefly introduce myself and my academic career. By training, I'm fish ecologist. When I was young, I always dive in the water, especially in these African lakes, and observe the fish behavior. Just sitting down with a scuba tank on the bottom of the lake and stay there for 5-6 hours every day. And that experience gave me a quite interesting opportunity to make some biologically important experiences, like this blood parasitism among fishes. This is the first example of fish blood parasite. And it was quite interesting for me. I really enjoyed this experience of basic research. But the problem I recognized was that I have been doing quite a lot of interesting work in rural area of African developing nations where people were suffered by poverty and all other difficulties of life. And my research on fishes doesn't relate to their lives of people who are facing difficulties. And I really saw it's frustrating for me, and also it's not at all good for rural communities where I'm working with, so that I decided to shift my research topic from fish to human society. And I found a quite interesting example of really amazing environmentally harmonious social system emerging in these developing world to incorporate scientific knowledge and rural or local knowledge in the absolute poverty conditions. And I expanded my research interest to the interaction between science and society, especially with what is called science in society, and science with society, and science for society. So that I just simply stepped out from my curiosity-driven research on fishes to tackle with the societal challenges that people in the real world are facing, especially in these areas in Africa. As you know, humanity faces very complex and difficult challenges related to very complicated social ecological systems, including degradation of natural resources and different type of ecosystem services. And all these challenges are generally termed as wicked problems. Wicked problems refers to the very difficult, complicated challenges in which we are even unaware of what is a real problem. And the solutions have a myriad answers, or sometimes no answers at all. And in such kind of wicked problems, we usually think that the tackling on each challenge does not help us to tackle with these difficult challenges, that we have to look for the mechanisms of transformation of social ecological system as a whole. Recording just started, I think. Then, in such a complex system, sometimes top-down type intervention, like the regulation by the government, doesn't work very well, especially in the very complicated communities in developing world, especially in Africa. But instead, the bottom-up collective actions among diverse actors are quite effective to accumulate, to generate various type of innovations. which we call it in autonomous innovation, and I will give you a definition later. But in brief, the autonomous innovation means some kind of innovation that emerges among the community members from the bottom-up type. So that these autonomous innovations is not usually linked with some guidance from government, some guidance from the academic community, but it emerges in the life of the people living there. And these autonomous innovations can accumulate to lead to the transformation of the entire system, which I will talk about later. Then we are also handling about or playing around with the concept of leverage point, which maybe some of you may be already familiar with. And this leverage point idea may be very effective, which functions to support the emergence of these autonomous innovations. So within the process of the emergence of innovations, we can identify some important points where which mobilize the entire transformation of the system. Then we try to do some kind of analysis of the role of these leverage points in the process of emergence of autonomous innovations, which already published a couple of papers. And we are trying to establish a new type of definition and methodology of the applying network analysis to develop to develop new definitions of the leverage points and 3 different types of leverage points, which I will talk about later. And then comparative analysis of these emergence processes of autonomous innovations and underlying actions, which we call collective actions, are needed to develop a hypothesis of social ecological transformation mechanisms. And we are particularly interested in how we can manage to improve the system through the synergies of different type of actions, which I will talk about it later in detail. Now, this is the history of my research, and in terms of my relatively large research fundings, starting from 2012 in the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature in Kyoto. First one is the first one served as formation of theoretical and empirical foundations of these researches. And then I could get a JST RISTEX funding to do TD research for sustainable resource management, collaborating with the forest part of the society in Africa. The title is Transdisciplinary Study of Natural Resource Management Under Poverty Conditions, collaborating with vulnerable sectors. And it focuses on various rural communities in developing world, including, for example, some communities in Sulawesi Island in Indonesia. And we found a quite interesting case example of amazing autonomous innovations that already happens in the rural communities. And then currently I decided to focus on Lake Malawi, or a country of Malawi, where I started my academic career. And this is a new project, integrated resource management, which is driven by community-based innovators. There is autonomous innovations in various areas of the developing world, and we could identify these innovators who are responsible in for the emergence of these amazing autonomous innovations. So this is what I'm doing, and the project is now at the end. We will finish this project in next June. And today I will talk about some outcomes of these 2 projects mainly. Transdisciplinarity is quite important to tackle these very complex challenges, which is called WIC problem. And we are quite sure, and we are convinced now, that influential autonomous innovations are emerging in all over the world in each local community through the bottom-up processes, and these autonomous innovations have a potential to promote the transformations of the entire social ecological system. And we are really in need to understand and apply its emergence mechanism to promote various, to promote the emergence of these various autonomous innovations all over the world. Transdisciplinary collaboration is quite essential to promote autonomous innovations and social ecological transformations. Through these transdisciplinary approach, we can identify very imminent and difficult challenges facing these people living in rural community of developing world and their creative practices, which they already developed and performing. That is what we call autonomous innovations. So one important message I really would like to make today is we can believe that in each rural community everywhere in the world, there are emergence of these autonomous innovations driven by the innovators in the rural communities. Then with these cases, we can describe emergence processes of autonomous innovation, and we developed a methodology of narrative co-creation. We are collaborating with innovators who are responsible for these autonomous innovations to co-create a set of narratives to describe how they develop their autonomous innovations by themselves, so that these narratives are kind of shared knowledge between us, I mean scientists, and community-based innovators. And this is a kind of shared knowledge. And then we can perform leverage point analysis to identify various types of leverage points, which play very important roles to promote collective actions and autonomous innovation through the collaboration among various stakeholders, including scientists, policymakers, and others. This is a quick definition of autonomous innovations and collective actions, which may be something quite unusual for you. The autonomous innovation, we defined it in our paper that this is a state in which multiple actions, which we call it collective actions, are newly generated in various part of the community in response to an emerging challenge, like the decline of fishing resources, for example, and then these challenges are deeply related to human well-being and sustainability, and which result in a dynamic process towards solving these challenges. That is an autonomous innovation. So this is composed of multiple collective actions. Various actions are happening, and it is directly related to the imminent challenges that community members are facing, and the solution of these challenges or mitigation of these challenges will directly result in the improvement of human well-being and sustainability, and which is very dynamic in its nature. This is our definition of autonomous innovation. Then what is this collective action? This is a relatively common word already discussed in various areas, so that we introduce William's definitions. A collaborative or cooperative action performed by a group of people, governed by self-interest, aimed at achieving common vision. So it is very simple and beautiful definition. Cooperative action, collaborative or cooperative actions by the people, but each people are doing it from their self-interest. There is no need to observe the interest of the entire group, but each people can pursue their own self-interest that they share a common vision. And these actions are targeting achieving this common vision. This is a very clear idea, so that we usually do not design collective action. It again emerges from the bottom-up processes. Then I'd like to introduce a quite interesting case example of artificial fishing reef construction, which have been performed and still working in Lake Malawi, one village in Lake Malawi, with big success in improvement of the sustainability of fisheries resources, and at the same time, the improvement of human well-being, including the enhancement of collaborative social relationships. And in these collaborative processes, the residential and visiting scientists and community-based innovators are working hand in hand. So that I'm talking about the collaboration today among different type of scientists and community-based innovators. And all other stakeholders are also involved, but the key actors are some different types of scientists and innovators who are working in the community, who emerged in the community and doing whatever they can do for the community to co-create innovations. Probably this residential researcher terminology is a bit new for you, and this is the type of researcher who are embedded in the local community, usually living in the local community for a longer time period, a few years at least, sometimes 10, 20 years, to work together with the community as a researcher to focus on the researches that community really needs. And this type of residential researchers play a quite significant role in promoting collaboration among different stakeholders. And the visiting researcher is usual researchers like myself, living in the university, working in the university in Japan, visiting Lake Malawi community recently 4 or 5 times in the year, and this is my second home already. But at the same time, these people are apparently not a community member. Residential researchers are already community member, and we are not really in such a position. We are visitors, but hopefully to become a trusted visitors to the community. So in this case, the one residential researchers is a JICA long-time researcher stationed in this particular village, which is called Chembe. This is our study site. And she has been, Dr. Yasuko Sakari, a lady, she has been in this village for past almost 5 years now. Yeah, and she has been working hand in hand with these community-based innovators. And her research target is the QOL, Quality of Life and Human Well-being research. She has been tackling with understanding the condition of the quality of life and human well-being in this village, and at the same time, not simply understanding it, but also try to improve it together with the community members and especially the community-based innovators. And so that her research is apparently solution-oriented. And in this case, I'm talking about visiting researcher myself. I'm a principal investigator of the project in charge of designing and implementing all these transdisciplinary research, working together with the community again. And this village, Chembe village, I have been visiting this village probably since 1997. That means almost 30 years now. So that it's my second home now, apparently. Then there are quite interesting community-based innovators. Community-based innovators are the villagers in this particular village. and they are responsible in doing creating various collective actions to develop the autonomous innovation by themselves. One is Mr. John Banana Matewele, who is the team leader of the community organization called Sustainable Cape Maclear. Cape Maclear is the name of this village and the surrounding village, so that this area should be sustainable with this community organization. And he is a kind of knowledge translator, bridging different epistemological communities, like scientists from outside the community, fishermen's community in the village, tourist sectors in the village, tourism sectors in the village. All different type of groups have different type of epistemological background with different type of ideas and visions. And he has a kind of quite important roles to connect these different type of knowledge system, which we call knowledge translator. And then there is a real actor on the ground. Beach Village Committee is a kind of committee in each village who are responsible in managing the aquatic resources, including fish. And this Madoti is just the name of a hamlet within this chamber village. And this Madoti Beach Village Committee is led by Miss Zaret Kalanda, and she is a source and a source of ideas and skills that is based on their real life. These people, three central actors, are Yasuko Sakai, the Japanese resident researcher, JICA expert, and then John Matewele, who has been working together with us for past 20 years or so, and Ms. Zaret Kalanda, the community leader of the Beach Village Committee. And with developing these collaborations, we developed a kind of empirical methodology. This is not a kind of theoretical one, but rather throughout our experience in all over the world, and especially in the developing world, in Africa, we developed a methodology to co-create trust-based collaborative partnership between different actors, including scientists as ourselves, or in other words, especially between scientists and community members. The equal partnership between scientists and community members are quite important in creating transdisciplinary community of collaboration or community of practice or whatever. This methodology is dialogic deliberation in living sphere, DIDLIS. And this methodology is designed to build trust by alleviate power disparity and paternalism especially among scientists coming from outside. We usually have a kind of set of the idea of deficit model that is deeply rooted in our mindset. And deficit model simply refers to the idea that people in the rural community do not understand the scientific idea or broader visions, and so that we need to educate them. This is a kind of deficit model. People lack knowledge, so that we need to provide it, which result in our attitude of teaching somebody, and which hampers or undermines the building of mutual trust. Then we really try to overcome deficit model to fill these big gaps, to co-design the research agenda or co-design the target of activities or target of innovation. And then we also need to manage large uncertainties in the complex system and restrictions that people living in these villages faces for their decisions and actions. There are millions of reasons that people understand what they really need to and would like to do, but they cannot do that because of various restrictions. And this type of methodology is deeply related to co-production of knowledge and outcome. First of all, alleviate power disparities to build trust. We recognize that the most important part is the residential researchers, who are already community members and trusted by various stakeholders in the community. So that trusted residential researchers and translators should participate in all the processes. That's the reason why we are so keen to work together with Mr. John Matewele, who is a knowledge translator in this case. And we emphasize on informal dialogue, not a kind of seminar like this, but really informal dialogue and deliberation at daily living and livelihood sides of these community members. We don't really like the setup that we will invite these people to nice laboratory or conference room to do some kind of interactions. This already is a basis for the unequal situation or power disparity between who invite them and who are invited. And then avoid participation of scientists and government officials who had past experiences to commit to particular community with some kind of power, like bringing in new regulation to the community as a scientist, part of the government policies. And scientists should have an attitude to trust the potential of marginalized people in these villages to produce solutions and respect their decisions. That is a very important baseline. We need to respect the decisions made by the community. These are the rules or methods we apply whenever we visit these villages. Then in order to overcome deficit model to co-design the research agenda, one of the most important factor is the iteration. We need to make iterated dialogues to build trust, not simply try to convince people and that we are trustable within a single visit to the village. Just visit them and talk to them a lot, sucking up their time for a couple of hours. That doesn't mean enough. We really need to repeat our visit, and then an informal and open dialogue, focusing on challenges and opportunity of the real life people is the most important set of the attitude, not try to focus on our agenda of, for example, the sustainable management of resources or conservation or these kind of things. We simply focus on real world challenges, and adaptive dialogue and deliberation from the viewpoint of stakeholders are quite important, and we need to forget about our scenario, which we had in our mind before we started. We just start with whatever the community member want, and open learning attitude of the humble scientist is the most important things. And scientific idea and technical options or solutions should come later, prudently introduced from the framing of these marginalized people. Then at last, the manage uncertainty and restriction for decision and actions. We first of all focus on the improvement of well-being among these people. Other agendas like sustainable management of resources or conservation or the reduction of carbon dioxide emission, these can be a kind of the outcomes that comes as a positive byproduct. We need to focus on people's life at the first. And then we need to try to visualize multiple options already practiced by vulnerable people with the potential to apply to other communities. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of innovation, a lot of autonomous innovation happening in these communities, and we can identify these, and these can be accumulated as a kind of options that people can choose whenever it is needed. And it is quite likely that these autonomous innovations can be applied to other communities in the similar conditions. Then, of course, as a scientist, we need to verify impacts and create meaning of these autonomous innovations, or create new meanings sometimes, emerging from the marginal people. New meaning means, of course, these innovations are focusing on the improvement of quality of life and the human well-being among people, especially to stabilize their life. But at the same time, they have some byproducts in the broader related to broader values like sustainability of the natural resources or conservation of biodiversity and so on. So that these new meaning or new values can be identified by scientific analysis. And then, of course, we need to do adaptive processes. Adaptive improvement of quality of life and sustainability of resources are quite possible if we are keen to learn from what we tried and accumulate small changes to move forward. With this methodology, one of the today's take-home message is an idea of humble scientist. We are trying to propose a new lens to collaborate people outside academia. And that is the attitude of humble scientists. We need to identify these people outside the academia, especially in people who are living in the rural area of very poor rural region in Africa, for example, that they are equal partners of co-creation of knowledge, not a target of assistance at all. Then trust their potential to create the autonomous innovations by themselves. They can do that. We have experienced so many really encouraging examples in these areas, and we need to recognize values of local practices to transform social ecological systems toward more sustainable and sustainable futures, sustainable and equitable futures, I would say. And also, at the same time, we pursue academic innovations by learning from the practices of very creative people in the community or innovators. We had a lot of things to learn from. So these type of humble and learning attitude of scientists is quite important in the collaboration in the real world. This process of reconstruction of the synergy, synergy emergence, we try to reconstruct the process of the synergy emergence in this artificial fishing reef, which is locally called Chirundu, by starting from the combination or encounter between local knowledge and scientific knowledge. It was really interesting experience for us as a scientist. When we start to sit down with these Madoti Beach Village community people, these type of dialogue started that they really wanted to try to make artificial fishing reef, which can help them to improve their life. And then this artificial fishing reef called Chirundu had, we recognized later actually that this Chirundu means totally different things for scientists and the community members. For us scientists, the Chirundu is an underwater protrusion of rocks from the flat bottom like this shape. And other fishes, which usually called utaka, swim in schools around these Chirundu. And because these protrusions create the upwelling current from the bottom water to supply the nutrition near the surface, and these planktivorous fishes aggregate on top of these Chirundu. And then fishermen use these nets to capture these fishes. That is what we know about these fishing reefs. And we are thinking of making this type of structure artificially. And then during or throughout the dialogue processes, we found it quite difficult. It is quite difficult to have a creative discussions, probably because we are talking about different things. For the community members, the Chirundu meant that their knowledge that in other areas in Lake Malawi, people use other type of Chirundu, which people are making many bundles of tree branches and place them on the bottom. And people are hinted by the fishes gathering around tree branches washed from the land into lake after the heavy rain or storms, so that people try to create these bottom structures of the tree branches on the bottom. The tree branches, of course, is a good process, a good structure to provide hiding places for small fishes from the predation, and people catch them using hook and line and other methods. So we recognize that we are talking about totally different things, and eventually we understand each other, or we recognize each other that both type of structure may be beneficial. Why don't we try to create these rock bottom structures, protrusion of rocks, so that there is a possibility of upwelling current there, and at the same time, why don't we create these hiding places, so that this left side structure provide food for fishes, right side provide hiding places for fishes. That is quite interesting idea and quite new for our knowledge and also for the people's knowledge. So that this is really a kind of co-creation process of knowledge, combining scientific knowledge and the people's knowledge based on the experience. Dialogue and deliberation, iterated dialogue and deliberation played a very important role to come up with this type of understanding, because at the first place, we couldn't understand each other at all. Then, also, through these iterated dialogue, we could understand the very strong will and visions of the community members, like this beach village community. They really wanted a fishing ground near the village because of the challenges they are facing. The fish catch decline resulted in the fishermen to travel far distance from the village, and it caused a lot of cost of energy and cost of fuels, and also the risk of the traveling. Fish catch decline caused the further fishing ground, and they really wanted something nearby the village for the fishermen. And also, this lady clearly stated that if we can make these artificial fishing reef near the village, it is easier to manage. It is easier to monitor. I can sit down, she said, I can sit down on a bench in front of my house to observe how people are fishing at our artificial fishing reef. And then most importantly, they really wanted a fishing ground for subsistence fishers in these poor communities. Usually subsistence fishers are kids, children, who try to catch the relish for their dinner in each day. And these fishing grounds for subsistence fishers of vulnerable families are quite important so that they can make it very close to the village so that people can easily go, like children even can easily go to this village, this artificial fishing reef to get fishes for their life. You know, as a scientist, we don't think that if we make these structures very near to the village, especially in front of this village, the water is relatively shallow, so that these shallow structures doesn't provide upwelling current very effectively, so that it is a bit difficult for these fishing reef to attract huge amount of fishes. But we really understand what people need and their visions to have a fishing ground for the vulnerable families, so that we agreed and try to make it very near to the village. And the place of Chirundu, the fishing reef, was determined through discussion with national park authorities because it is very near to the underwater protected areas. And this is the set between the village and the West Chumbi Island. This is this island. This is a protected area. And more than 100 offshore from the beach and the area that is outside of national park and its protected area. And it is about 13-meter depth on flat sand bottom with no rocky areas nearby. And of course, before we construct this structure, we made a kind of experimental fishing. Chilimita fishing is the fishing that particularly target to the floating fishes on top of these artificial fishing reef. And we tried it in April 2019 to take baseline this data, and we confirmed that there is no, virtually no catch at all, so that there is no already established fish aggregation area in this particular part of the lake. And then this is the kind of structure of what we made. Iterated dialogue resulted in co-designing these Chirundu fishing reef, combine two types of Chirundu. One is piles of rocks, about 2 meter to 3 meter height, to produce the upwelling current. And then the mango tree branches are dropped in this area. And then some old dugout canoes are also dropped, which was thought, or people know, that it can provide a good spawning ground for big catfishes called campango, which is very highly valued fisheries product. So that stones and old dugout canoes mimic rock protrusion and also provide some ground for breeding for these catfishes. And the mango tree branches bundles and provide hiding places. And this is on the flat sandy bottom to attract fishes. And one good point is, as the result of this dialogue and collaborative dialogue again, all needed materials are locally available and very cheap. So all materials are obtained cheap in the village and accumulated in the village. And then in April 2019, all these materials are dumped on the bottom, and divers, including myself, dived into the canoe, into these parts, and tied canoes by ropes and fixed the layout, especially to build up these stone piles on the bottom. And and monitoring started in June 2019, and experimental fishing and observation of divers are repeatedly conducted until COVID comes in 2020, early 2020. And then we could find a very big catch on top of this Chilundu, and no catch in 200 meters away from this Chilundu, as expected. That means this Chilundu is very successful in a lot of fishes there, and people are quite satisfied with this result. And underwater observation also confirmed the aggregation of fishes there. And then the repeated test fishing revealed even better catches after 2 months. And this is in one hole, 40-liter catches of fishes. And then we could identify 2 amazing impacts of this structure. One is these are the school of the small sibling of big catfishes that is commercially very valuable, so that we confirmed that this structure provides a very good spawning ground for an important fisheries species, that is the fisheries species that is called campango, and a catfish. And then at the same time, we could observe the outstanding universal value of the World Heritage of Lake Malawi. Lake Malawi World Natural Heritage is this fish. These fishes, precisely. This is a small fishes that is called cichlids that evolved in this lake. And this lake has about 1,800 species of this fish group, and they are endemic to this lake. That means found only in this lake all over the world. And this is a kind of very outstanding example of very rapid evolution among vertebrates. And biologically, they are extremely important. And we could first we recognize their settlement in our artificial fishing lake, and especially in these rock piles, and later we also confirmed their spawning there. So these type of initial success stimulated curiosity of all the participants, including scientists, and immediately that resulted in new collective action to create another Chilundu by these Madote BBC people. And leadership, Madote people are kind of a leader to produce knowledge about these artificial fishing reef structure and construction method, and they are keen to try to deliver it to other areas in the village to make new Chilundu, and they are now trying to make 4 or 5 new Chilundu in the all along the lake shore of the village. Then also, we are quite happy to observe many utaka hovering. These small fishes like this, probably, are aggregated around Chilundu. And then big campango, this is a catfish, very tasty and valuable, highly commercially valued catfish who are inside the canoes for spawning. And some species of the buna, that is the outstanding universal value of the conservation, important species for conservation, maybe migrating from the national park area, and observing this rocking pile, probably so that this rock piles can be refuges for these important conservation species. Then
Sensei,
Hi.
Sorry, just a quick reminder, Sensei.
Yep.
We still have about 5 minutes, Sensei. Sorry.
Okay, okay. I thought 15 minutes, but it's okay. I could quickly finish it. And then it comes to new idea, new collective action of tourism use of this. This is what we have, the people that did. There is a tour guide association people who are doing this type of tourist tours in this. This is a big tourist attraction, so that these tour guides are operating to provide the tour programs. And then to trial tour and this fishing and fish processing using this particular structure is conducted in 2023 after COVID, so that we could observe this type of activities happening. So we are trying to introduce a new lens of leverage point. Leverage point is the particular point in a very complex system on which small changes of this particular point produce transformative changes of the entire system. And we use a network analysis methodology. So this is the kind of technical part of today's lecture, so that I can just explain it quickly. If you are interested in, please take a look at our paper. It is detailed in our paper. But anyway, we will use the narratives, then use the sentence of each narrative as a node of the network. And then the causal chains of these nodes into causal relations by order of sentences or order of timeline, and sometimes order of logical steps. And then nodes related to outcomes are connected to initial nodes related to the trigger and motivation of the innovation to complete a feedback loop. So this is a kind of data set. This is all the small part of the sentences extracted from the narrative. And it is tabled, tabulated in such a way that one thing happens and next thing happens. And this thing comes to the cause of another action, cause of another things. This type of cause effect relationship is reconstructed from our narratives. And these lists are transformed into the network diagrams, and we use this type of calculation of the network centrality indices to identify or define the leverage points. And this is a very detailed methodology of how we did it. And first of all, we do network analysis and try to identify values of between centrality and leverage centrality. These values we use to identify the leverage point. And then we define the two different conditions of leverage point to come up to three types of leverage point in this way. So what we found is there are three different types of leverage point. One is leverage point LP in. In means some very important part of the network where it functions as integrating diverse components into the system. And then out is a kind of node that make new diversification of the network, creating new collective action. And then all simply means it has both functions of in and out. It supports functions of the entire system. And then this is the kind of outcomes that we made from this analysis, process reconstruction of synergy emergence by time series analysis. And this is already published in PLOS One this year. And there is the initial condition. Then big activities happen in fisheries resource management, including vulnerable sectors, which provide a very positive impact throughout this loop, so that this loop is working on fisheries resource management. And then we could identify this small connection here, which relate to conservation, which relate to the possibility to contribute protected area management by providing refuge to the important conservation species. That is an outstanding universal value of the world natural heritage. And then this was the situation just after the construction of this artificial fishing reef. So it is 2019. And then then there's a gap, 3 years, two years gap due to COVID-19. And then we came back to do the same analysis in 2022 together with the local communities and found that the entire structure of the network is quite similar, but this part becomes more prominent and clearly identified synergy with protected area management by identifying the reproduction of these conservationally important species. So in this case, this entire process was intended to improve fisheries resources, and we didn't intend this. So that this type of synergy emerged as a positive byproduct of the entire processes. And then year 2023, the entire structure changes dramatically. This part is quite similar to the past figures, but this part added here. New external conditions emerged in which tour guide association becomes more and more interested in using this structure for their tourism activity. And then there is a new leverage point happening here. Tour guide jumped in and collaborated with the Beach Village Committee and as scientists to create new synergy with tourism resource management. There is a new tourism tourist program using this particular structure, so that all these processes and these outcomes of network analysis are shared with community members who are involved in all these processes, and they are also happy with these outcomes to identify what was the important point in what they had done. So we believe that synergy is quite important. Synergy is important to promote social ecological transport information because it can simultaneously improve the status of different resources or different aspects of the community and promote collaboration of broad actors, including community-based innovators, other stakeholders, and scientists from different academic domains. For instance, in this case, first fisheries scientists are interested in this process, but then people who work on tourism also becomes more and more interested in these processes, and then wider opportunities of interactions and mutual learning to promote adaptive processes because of the diversity, increased diversity of the participants in this collaboration, because of the synergies and more profound impact on the social ecological system. All these synergy discussion is already published in PLOS ONE paper. You can find it later anywhere on the web. So with these analysis and experiences, we are proposing guiding principles to transformations, to promote transformation of social ecological systems through synergy. And this guideline, guiding principle, is targeting for local practitioners like innovators in this case, or the Beach Village Committee people, then community-based innovators like John Matewele, and transdisciplinary scientists like ourselves. And we also strongly request policymakers and aid agencies to observe these guideling principles whenever they try to collaborate with these main actors for the emergence of autonomous innovation with synergies. First of all, we need to strengthen the foundation of collective actions based on the awareness of potential synergies, so that this type of action may become more influential through synergies if we take care of this aspect. This type of consideration is strongly needed, and then to design and implement collective actions deliberately to generate synergies as positive byproducts, so that we can imagine that this structure can serve as a fish breeding ground, but at the same time, it may be beneficial for tourism. These type of ideas we should have from the very beginning. Then be aware of the importance of the functions of leverage points in promoting changes in people's perceptions and visualization of new values and challenges. This is the direct outcomes of our analysis of synergy creation mechanisms in our PLOS ONE paper. And our results strongly suggest that changes of perception among people and visualization of new values and challenges are quite important leverage points to transform the entire systems through the synergy. Then, of course, we should not be satisfied with the result of collective actions aiming at solving very urgent challenges like the improvement of fishery resources, but at the same time to deepen the motivations for different resource management practices, like to use it for tourism resources. Then to promote the emergence of collective actions involving the enhancement of different types of public values, such as an ecosystem conservation or landscape management, which will invite even broader actors in the community to strengthen or create more synergies. And then eventually we need to design and implement collective actions to improve diverse aspects of human well-being. Of course, it is a must from the very beginning. So thank you very much for taking time listening to my talk, and I hope you could enjoy it. And sorry that I'm a bit to hurry from at the last part of the talk because of the time limitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sato. It's a
Thank you.
really stimulating, inspiring lecture, Sensei. So allow me to summarize briefly for the audience here some key points that we have learned from Professor Sato presentation. So innovation emerge when local knowledge and scientific knowledge meet, when trust is built, when community take the lead. The Malawi case show us that innovation can restore ecosystem, improve livelihood, and also even create new opportunities like tourism. So Sensei, I'm sorry, allow me to translate it in Bahasa Indonesia, Sensei. For
Please do it.
Oke, Bapak Ibu semua, dari beberapa kesimpulan yang disampaikan oleh Profesor Sato, bahwa inovasi itu muncul ketika ada pengetahuan lokal dan pengetahuan ilmiah itu bertemu. Nah, ketika kepercayaan antara saintis dan juga lokal community itu terbangun, dan ketika komunitas mengambil peran utama dalam kegiatannya. Nah, kasus di Malawi ini dia menunjukkan kepada kita bahwa inovasi itu dapat memulihkan ekosistem, meningkatkan mata pencarian, dan juga bahkan menciptakan peluang baru seperti pariwisata. In the context of study program in extension and development communication, what we have learned today strongly connect with the current transformation of extension practices. So traditionally, extension was understood as transferring knowledge from expert to farmers. So, but Professor Sato lecture reminds us that effective and sustainable innovation comes from co-creating knowledge. Maksudnya di sini itu dalam konteks program penyuluhan, isu-isu penyuluhan, apa yang kita pelajari hari ini itu berkaitan dengan transformasi penyuluhan yang sedang berlangsung. Jadi secara tradisional, penyuluhan itu kan dipahami sebagai proses transfer pengetahuan dari ahli kepada petani. Nah, namun kuliah Profesor Sato ini kita bisa mengingatkan bahwa inovasi yang efektif itu berkelanjutan, yang berkelanjutan itu lahir dari proses penciptaan pengetahuan bersama atau yang beliau sebut dengan co-creation of knowledge. So, this means extension workers are no longer mere messengers of information. Instead, they must become facilitator of dialogue and manager of knowledge who bring together scientific insight and local wisdom. So as future extension and development practitioners, our role is to become knowledge manager and facilitator of innovation. You must learn how to identify leverage point, support autonomous innovation, and transform them into sustainable social enterprises. So I think this is the future of extension in Indonesia. So innovation, management, and social entrepreneurship. Sedikit menyimpulkan Bapak Ibu, nah ini penyuluhan itu tidak lagi berada, tidak hanya berperan dalam penyampaian informasi saja, tapi bisa mereka harus menjadi fasilitator dialog, dan juga pengelola pengetahuan yang mampu mempertemukan wawasan ilmiah dengan kearifan lokal. Nah, sebagai calon praktisi penyuluhan dan juga pembangunan, peran mahasiswa ini mungkin ya perannya adalah menjadi pengelola pengetahuan dan fasilitator inovasi. Mahasiswa juga bisa mampu belajar bagaimana mengidentifikasi leverage point tadi, mendukung inovasi otonom ya, dan mengubahnya menjadi kewirausahaan sosial yang berkelanjutan. Nah, saya percaya mungkin inilah masa depan penyuluhan. So now we will open the floor for question. You may raise your hand using the Zoom action button or simply type your question in the chat box. Cool. Okay. So Sensei, I saw several questions in the chat box. May I read loudly to Sensei?
Yes, please.
Oh.
I can also take a look at the chat box also. Yes.
So first question from Nurfianto Giar Pandingung. The question for Professor Sato, how can we co-design and sustain socially just ecological, regenerative, and technological appropriate autonomous innovation system that empower coastal rural communities to proactively shape their own future in the face of climate change and global economic pressure? The second question from Bapak Nurfianto also, how can external actor ethnically facilitate the emergence of autonomous innovation within coastal rural communities by leveraging their existing knowledge system and social structure while consequently refraining from imposing external paradigm of development and technology? So so Sensei, you want to answer first, or should I collect two more questions?
I think it's okay. Let's do it one by one. So this question, I'd like to really quickly try to answer, or I prefer to develop more questions by answering it. But anyway, this is very important point, I think. First of all, empowerment of coastal rural communities are the very important target, but empowering doesn't simply mean that we can provide some kind of solutions or processes for empowerment. Rather, empowerment itself is in internal processes of this community themselves and people there to try to develop their ability to cope with different, difficult aspects of their community and their challenges. Especially climate change and globally economic pressures. Of course, there is no simple answer. to try to tackle it. And one thing I really would like to emphasize is the process of adaptive governance. First of all, this process is not only a one-shot process. We don't have the clear-cut answer to co-design the socially just, ecological, regenerative, technological, appropriate solution. It is impossible in a sense from only one single-shot activities. Rather, what we need to think of is to develop a hypothesis within these particular conditions of the communities and the global pressures like climate change and economy to start with. We can try this particular thing like the construction of artificial fishing reef to combat, for example, to secure fishing ground even in the climate change situations. But of course, we don't know whether it works or not. So that we will try our best to have a hypothesis that this can be socially just, because we can involve various stakeholders and rights holders in our actions, and ecological regenerative because it will improve the ecosystem functions of the particular area underwater conditions. And then it is technologically appropriate because we can make it using entirely local products with quite good potential of minimum environmental disturbances. And this seems to be a right way, although we don't know it is really the right way or not. Then we try it, and then to try to improve it by adaptive learning, so that we are trying to make the repeated test trial of fishing and underwater observations to improve the structure. I will give you an example of improvement. First, we started with the big plastic bag for the maize flowers, used for the maize flowers, to put in the sand and some maize husks to attract fishes. And also at the time it will also functions as a kind of weight for the mango trees. But then we recognize that these plastic bags cause quite a lot of problem by plastic contamination. And so that we decide to find out another biodegradable material, and we could find it. And then I and my colleagues made a very tough series of divings to remove all the plastic bags. It was about 30 plastic bags, but remove all these plastic bags. And then now we are using the new biodegradable materials. In such a way, we can improve the system. And this methodology, improved methodology, is now delivered to other communities to produce new chirundu, new artificial fishing reef. And then we can expect that the chain of these artificial fishing reef also create a quite important environment for the breeding and the fishing, breeding of important species, and at the same time the opportunities for fishing, especially for the vulnerable people. This is something I was inspired from this first question. And probably one important point is the adaptive processes that first of all, our recognition that we don't know the answer. And then we have a hypothesis, and then try to promote adaptive processes. And then second question, external actors ethically facilitate. This is what I think. This is what I really try to emphasize. One of the important point is the transdisciplinary approach or transdisciplinary processes. We are always working together with the community members, with the strong will to establish the equal partnership. No power disparity. We are bringing in, we are careful enough not to bring in any power relationship so that we even forget about trying to teach people about new ideas. We are clearly focusing on listening. We are listening to the voices of people, and we are trying to understand what is the real situation for them. And then these are really a kind of ethical processes. Then also another quite important caution or challenge is to avoid extracting information from the communities. Rather, all of our analysis results or all of the information we use in these analyses are shared products from the community. So that this is a co-creation process of knowledge. If the knowledge is co-created, it is the ownership of the knowledge is shared of all the participants of co-creation. So that community members are the owner of the knowledge. And of course, the knowledge translator, John Matewele, is a co-author of our papers. And in such a way, we can work together in hand with these local communities to have again, equal ownership of the knowledge. And then, so this is a kind of very conscious ways of avoiding the imposition of the external values and knowledge or framing to the community. I think this was very nice question and very nice discussion, and I really want to continue this discussion if the Mr. Pangitan Malang, Mr. or Miss, I don't know, but you have some more questions or some more comments on what I have told?
Bapak Nurfianto Giar Pangiduang, apa Bapak masih mau melanjutkan diskusinya, Bapak, pertanyaan? I think so. Sensei, maybe we can come to the next question first, Sensei, until we're waiting for Bapak Nurfianto.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, Sensei. Thank you very much for the clear answer, Sensei. And for the second question is come from Azifir1. So the question is, what is the mechanism for building collaboration in rapidly changing world with massive use of artificial intelligence? Is the discussion about knowledge management still relevant? If it is still relevant, how can it be developed in communities to contribute to the sustainability innovation system? That's first the question, and I will collect 3 questions if is it okay for Sensei?
Right.
Okay.
This is a quite interesting aspects of the rapidly changing world, and of course these AI influences are rapidly intruding into the communities I've been working in Malawi, and of course this is the kind of the area where our knowledge system itself is transforming right now, and of course the AI is a very useful tools to promote collective and creative thinking. You know, the important part is different person with different knowledge set think together in a framework, think together as a collective thinking to come up with various hypotheses not answers. And in this process, AI can help us a lot if we can use it in a clever way. So that we usually ask AI the meaning of the word in general terms, for example, or the meaning or the current conditions of the particular country in particular aspects. These type of informations are much easily obtained using the AIs. And this is a clever way of using AIs so that we can collaborate in a collective thinking using the AI as a kind of tool. That is a very creative way and make the discussion much more stimulative than without AI. So that we have a really nice opportunity to make a very intensive and stimulative discussions using AI as a kind of the information source. Not asking them to answer some question, but they use it as a kind of information source for collective thinking. That is my idea. And it is very, very stimulative in a sense. And this is, it is a collaborative method of creative thinking.
Okay.
Do you think it's okay?
Yes, it's clear, very clear, and very interesting, Sensei. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So should we move to the next question, Sensei?
Yep.
This is come from one of our student in our study program.
Yep.
The question is, in the context of like Indonesia, how can extension contribute to transforming farmers group into innovators and social entrepreneurs?
Yeah, this is, you know, it is a very, very common question.
Yeah.
How we can transform people. Actually, we cannot transform people. That is quite true. Please think in a different way. There are people who already transformed themselves by themselves. So that there are a lot of people who, among farmers, who already have a quite nice ideas. Some of them are already materialized in some part of their life. But the most usual constraint is they do not think it is valuable. What they are doing is valuable. They are doing what they have to do, and as usual, and they don't think it's valuable and insightful for other people. So what we can do is to find these very creative practice or ideas of the farmers, have a dialogue with farmers, and try to convince these farmers that what you are doing is really interesting and really valuable. That is a kind of things the external actors or extension officers can do for the farmers to visualize the values and the importance of what they are doing or what they are thinking. This is something we should try to visualize the innovations that already exist in the community among the farmers group, and then to co-create the collaborative collective actions to improve these practices or ideas into more tangible and effective actions or innovations. In that sense, the most important attitude for extension people or students or scientists to work together with the community members or local farmers group is to trust or to believe that they have already innovative ideas or innovative practices already performed by themselves, but they do not think it is really innovative or important. And we just try to find it, make a meaning of that, and to share it with the farmers. That is something I really would like to suggest with this.
Thank you very much, Sensei.
Bu Ami,
Iya, Pak Heri.
itu
Ya.
ada Ibu Dr. Siti Andrawati dari UGM, Ketua S2 PKP. Coba disapa beliau oleh
Ibu Siti,
Andrawati.
Bu, sebentar, Pak. Bu Siti Andarwati. So, Professor, we have audience from UGM, Universitas Gajah Mada, Bu Dr. Siti Andarwati.
That's enough.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello, Sensei.
Hello. Very nice to see you.
Very nice to see you. Okay.
Oke, Ibu. Kalau ada pertanyaan nanti silahkan Ibu bergabung, Ibu.
Ya, sementara cukup. Ya, saya menyimak.
Oke, terima kasih, Ibu.
Terima kasih, Pak Heri.
Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Sensei.
Terima kasih.
Okay, Sensei. For the next question, Sensei, we
Yep.
have some question in the chat box. So I will read one by one. So maybe two questions at the same time, Sensei. So first question is come from Finky.
Yeah.
So how can extension practitioners build trust with farmers, especially when there is a long history of top-down program, like in Indonesia, Sensei? So such as how to understand the need, experiences, and local knowledge of the farmers. And I think the second question is also related. If you could give one piece of advice to young extension student here, what should we focus on in order to become effective agents of sustainable innovation? So, Professor, could you please share your thought about this?
Okay. Probably I just share my slides again. Is this shared? Yeah, yes, it's shared. One is excuse me, I don't see the chat window now. Oh yeah, yeah. There's a long history of extension which supported communities even in Malawi as well as in Indonesia, and these extension effort had multiple different outcomes, I think, and we have to be very careful about how to avoid the negative impacts, to promote more positive impacts. And what I had been talking about this toolbox. Yep. This toolbox is to avoid or to change the outcomes of these negative impacts and make it more creative and positive. First of all, this part, avoid participation of scientists with past experience to commit to particular community with power. There are lots of experience that local people are suffered from the very strong top-down intervention of some kind of rules or regulation, which is tough for them to follow. And extension officers sometimes is the one who have to do this. but this may have a very negative negative impression from, for example, farmers. And some of government officials in Malawi, for example, is truly disliked by local people. And this is a kind of disaster because of their repeated interventions with some kind of some attitude to try to enforce some regulations to the community. So this is something we have to be very careful to avoid. And one of the way to avoid is the trust. To believe their potential, people's potential, to change things by themselves. And so that they shouldn't bring in some kind of externally powered top-down type rules or regulations straightly to the community, but rather, it's a bit difficult, but rather I prefer to try to promote emergence of local rules by themselves. People now in Lake Malawi, in Chembe village where I'm working, local people are now trying to establish a resource use guideline by themselves that will be a official document from the government. So that government rules are actually made by the community themselves. These type of case example, I'm not really sure even in Indonesia, it might be rare that people can create the rule by themselves and enforce them by themselves, like farmer groups. And this has a kind of legal background. So these type of processes can be tried in a sense that to promote really good relationship with the community with a long history of interaction with extension officers. And then one thing is, I would like to propose a new lens to collaborate with people outside the policy arena. Humble extension officer. Humble scientist should be translated into humble extension officer. And the same thing applies. You need to see the people as an equal partner, trust their huge potential to do something by themselves, and recognize the values of local practice, and then pursue policy innovation by learning from the practices of people. You can translate this into extensions.
Okay.
How
I
about
think
this?
it's very clear, Sensei. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Tommy and Pinky, does it clear, or you want to add something? So okay, I think it's clear. Okay, thank you. Okay. Sensei, we have one audience, Anissa Salsabila.
Yep.
She wants to ask you directly, Sensei. So
Yes,
please,
please. Yes.
Anissa.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Ami.
Hello, Anissa.
Yeah, hello, thank you. Could you hear me?
Yeah, unfortunately, the voice is a little bit unclear. Please come closer to your mic, or
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it? Right now?
Yeah,
Can
it's better now.
Okay. Hello, Mr. I'm Anissa Salsabila. Currently pursuing a master degree in rural regional development of Andalas University. My academic journey focused about understanding the dynamics of rural development, exploring strategies for community empowerment, and address challenges faced by rural area. Right now, I'm focused about literacy in Indonesia. In the case, data and effect on literacy in Indonesia on PISA reading literacy score 2022, Indonesia score lower than 2018. And Literacy Development Index 2025 reached seven 7.3, surpassing the target of 71. So literacy volunteer program in initiative like Relawan Literasi Masyarakat in Indonesia by the National Library and to boost reading the culture. So in case I would to request to you for discuss about some your theory about ada sih teori tadi kan to theory about the collective action and community contribution in balancing autonomous innovation. We need for collective coordination, right? So I have some questions about this. The first, how do literacy volunteer in West Sumatra, for especially, exemplify autonomous innovation in design context specific reading program on your research before? The second, to what extent does collection action among local stakeholders enhance the impact of literacy in initiative in West Sumatra, especially? But we can compare Indonesia and your country, can say. And the second, in what way do autonomous innovation by literacy volunteers in Indonesia address specific community needs and cultural context? Just the second question for me. I'm sorry, I do apologize, Mr. Can say if I can explain with better. Okay. Thank you so much. I will give to Ms. Ani.
Okay, thank you, Sensei. Does the question is clear for you, or?
Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to understand the entire wording. Anissa, you were talking about waste management, or
No, Sensei,
well,
I think it's the literacy volunteers that because the literacy level in Indonesia, especially in West Sumatra, is quite low. So they kind of do like a literacy community, something like that, Anissa?
Yes, Miss.
Or could you please write down the question, or I can read it to Sato Sensei?
yeah, literacy means literacy, how to
Yes,
read and write.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
why the minute? The first, how do literacy volunteer in West Sumatra, especially in Indonesia, exemplify autonomous innovation in designing context-specific reading program on your research?
Context-specific reading.
Second,
Uh,
to what extent does collective action among local stakeholders and enhance the impact of literacy initiative in Indonesia? And the third, in what way do autonomous innovation by literacy volunteer in Indonesia address specific community need and cultural context? You can, ya itu aja Miss.
So Sensei, is that the question is
Yeah.
clear, or?
It's a bit difficult.
Ami terjemah langsung aja, Mi.
Kenapa Pak?
Transfer langsung aja, terjemahkan langsung aja.
Kami juga agak kurang jelas nih sebenarnya Pak, literasinya apa? Anissa, literasi yang dimaksud ini apa? Anissa, komunitas untuk apa? Tujuan programnya apa?
Oke. Kan tadi dijelaskan kan Miss mengenai data mengenai bisa di literasi Indonesia ini kan makin tahun itu makin berkurang kan Miss.
Mhm.
Dari tahun 2018. Terus juga ini kan tadi ada konteks mengenai yang dua teori dari Prof tadi kan Miss.
Mhm.
Jadi saya maunya Prof itu menjelaskan gimana
Bagaimana?
pandangan beliau terhadap relawan itu gitu. Kita nggak bahas relimanya sekarang, Miss. Jadi lebih ke konteks beliau aja. Jadi kita bisa membandingkan di Indonesia dan di negara beliau gitu. Gimana dari konteks itu menurut pandangan beliau gitu. Gitu, Miss.
Oke, volunteernya untuk siapa?
Volunteernya untuk relawan literasi di Sumatera, Miss.
Oh, yang teorinya teori yang mana dipakai ini? Maksud
Yang autonomous innovation. Yang di slide awal, Miss. Ada Prof itu menjelaskan, Miss.
Oke.
Thank you.
Sorry Sensei. So
It's okay.
we just talking. So jadi pertanyaannya bagaimana pendapat beliau tentang volunteer volunteer literasi. Halo Anissa,
Iya, Miss.
boleh jelaskan lagi sedikit saja, masih kurang clear. Jadi maksudnya apa pertanyaan ya, satu pertanyaan aja deh coba ininya biar saya.
Oke, kan saya maunya tadi kan literasi komunitis gitu kan, Miss. Pemberdayaan literasi gitu. Jadi bagaimana pandangan Prof itu terhadap dua teori yang beliau sampaikan ini yang kita bisa implikasikan terhadap relawan dalam pemberdayaan masyarakat bagi relawan literasi seperti itu, Miss.
Pemberdayaan masyarakat bagi relawan ya.
Iya.
Oke. Bentar. So Sensei.
Yes.
So the question is, the literacy situation in Indonesia, so
Yeah.
to read and write, especially among among the rural area, the coastal area also is very low.
Yeah.
So now they have kind of literacy volunteer, Sensei, to how can I say for the community development in the rural area and also coastal area. So they like to elaborate more related to your autonomous theory and also a concept and all. Thank you.
Yep. That's quite interesting question. I think it is quite possible to find out among these literacy volunteers who innovated some interesting methodology of communication among these rural people who have the problem in reading and writing. These type of communication method should emerge because people should emerge in the local communities autonomously because people are facing these challenges in their everyday life, so that how they can try to invent a new approach to communicate with the people who had their challenges in reading and writing. You can find out real example in the rural communities, and I'm really interested in listening to what you will find in such a kind of endeavor to try to identify already existing interesting approach of communication.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So Anissa, so maybe you after your research done, you can discuss with Sato Sensei what is the result for your research in master degree.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
So Sensei One, I have one question.
By the way, Ami-san, there is one hand. Pinna.
Oh, okay, Vina.
Yeah.
Okay, Vina,
Yes,
please.
yes, Miss. Okay. First, hello,
Hello.
hello, Professor. My name is Pina, and I'm from Universitas Andalas, Andalas University. And my question is about the role of extension workers, and I want to know about the role of extension worker in your view, Professor. And my question is, in your view, Professor, how should extension workers shift their role from being knowledge transmitter to becoming knowledge managers and facilitators of innovation? I think that's it, Professor. Thank you. Dikembalikan kepada Ibu.
Yeah,
Thank you, Vina. So, Professor, could you please share your thought about this?
yeah. You know, the term knowledge managers have implies that this particular managers gather the knowledge and distribute it to different actors so that he is the center of knowledge exchange. And in the sense that what I have been discussing in my presentation was the importance of knowledge translator, who are a kind of mediator. So that knowledge itself is not really manageable by the single person, because it is really impossible for one person to understand and obtain entire knowledge that the people he has been interacting has. It's impossible. Only the explicit knowledge he can gather from these people. Rather, knowledge translator simply means that he is a mediator of different mindset between different mindsets. For example, one person having a particular knowledge set, other person has a particular different knowledge set. They are both creating their own knowledge and developing it. And the interaction is mediated by these knowledge translators to combine these knowledges to make it even more, change more dynamically. These type of, the process is knowledge co-creation process. So that it is not a kind of manager's role, but rather to promote these type of knowledge exchange is a role of the translator. So please try to define the knowledge manager to have a function of knowledge translation, to connect different ideas, different mindset in a sense, so that all the different knowledge production process. Yeah, in a sense, each person has their own knowledge production processes. You see, for example, everybody is creating their own knowledge, which is already very complicating. And the knowledge translator is connecting these different knowledge sets to co-create the shared knowledge set. And it is dynamically changing always. So in that sense, please think that knowledge translation function is an important, very important part to co-create new knowledge sets. And this should be a part of the knowledge manager's role. Do you think it's okay?
Okay, Professor, I can.
Okay,
Thank you so much for your.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Vina. So, unfortunately, this is our last question, Sensei, from Dr. Sri Wahyuni. So I will read it aloud, Sensei. So as we know, local knowledge is spread across various places and shared by various people. So what is the most effective method for gathering local knowledge into innovation, Sensei?
Thank you. Again, there is no single answer for this question. I think there is multiple different approaches to understand the set of local knowledge. One of the ideas that we are trying to promote is the accumulation of dialogues with different actors within their community, within a single community, or even including outside the community, to find out the various aspects of local knowledge. But at the same time, we are trying to focus on particular set of challenges. Like in our dialogue with this Beach Village Committee people, we focused on the issues of the fisheries resource management, so that we can focus on particular challenges that people are facing and accumulate a dialogue with various stakeholders associated with these challenges, then come up with the shared narratives. That is what we are trying to do. And if I may say, it is not at all efficient or speedy way. It takes time. It's really tough to have a repeated dialogue. But I think it is a necessary process to have enough diversity of the knowledge we can gather from the people, and understand the entire structure of the knowledge set. This type of repeated dialogue is unavoidable, I think. So that one recommendation I can make is to think that there is no quick way to get knowledge from the local community, that we should try to repeat the deep dialogue and collective thinking with local stakeholders to come up with a set of narratives on the particular aspects of the community or particular challenges, to come up with a good set of narratives which reflects the local knowledge and scientific knowledge. This type of methodology is slow, inefficient, but very effective, I would suggest.
Okay, thank you very much, Sensei.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, this is our final season, Sensei. So we
Thank
have
you.
to close this seminar, and I'm sure there are many questions come from the student also. But I'm sorry, this is our final session, so we have to
Ingatkan
close.
peserta untuk isi absen, Ami.
Okay. And for the participant, jangan lupa untuk isi absennya in the link dalam chat box-nya. Silahkan diisi absennya di sana. Bagi mahasiswa yang hadir juga silahkan diisi absennya. Okay, Sensei. Before we close our session, any final remarks before we close this session, Sensei?
I would say thank you very much for everyone for finding time to participate and listen to what I have been talking, and gave me a lot of really interesting feedback. And as you know, I learned a lot from this communication. And this was my pleasure, that I could also hopefully stimulate your thinking and to co-create new type of knowledge about, in this case, extensions. I think I had a quite interesting opportunities to think more about history of extension and its impact. That was very nice opportunity and a nice experience for me. And I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone who participated. for this very stimulative collective thinking, I would
Thank
say.
you, Sensei.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sensei. So, saya kembalikan ke Pak Fuad. So we will close our session, but first I would like to may I
Slide-nya,
kenapa Pak?
slide-nya Pak Sato.
Nanti
Minta
ini
tolong
Pak
dimatiin
oh ya oke.
pada beliau.
Professor Sato, could you please turn on your slide share?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep.
So while you're turning your slide share, I would like to briefly summarize some key points that we have learned today. So innovation is not only technological, but also deeply social. So solutions arise when we share knowledge and work together across boundaries. So local community are not just recipient of the ideas, they are creator of innovation. And collaborative science teach us that importance of humility. So to work equal partners, valuing wisdom of local people as much as the knowledge of researchers. In the case, Malawi show us how synergies can emerge, fisheries, conservation, and also and even tourism. So all transform into single community-driven innovation. So this demonstrates that when knowledge is co-created and trust is built, the result can reshape entire system. I think that what we have learned from Sato Sensei, very inspiring lecture, Sensei. Thank you very much. So saya kembalikan ke Pak Fuad. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much for Professor Tetsu Sato for the excellent presentation, and also to Dr. Ami Sukma Utami for skillfully moderating this session. Now we will continue for giving certificate for our keynote speaker by Mr. Dr. Rusfitra SPT-MP, our Vice Director of Graduate School, Universitas Andalas, to present appreciation for our keynote and our moderator. We invite Mr. Rusfitra to speech.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Fuad. Thank you, Professor Sato. Thank you for sharing information about sharing knowledge and research collaboration, special case in Malawi. We hope your information can be an inspiration for the participants. Thank you to the moderator, Ami Sukma Utami, PhD. Also, thank you to all participants. See you at the next lecture and learning session series. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is our certificate from Prof. Tetsu Sato and Ibu Dr. Ami Sukma Utami, PhD.
So Sensei, I will send the certificate to you email.
Thank you. Please send me later.
Thank you very much, Professor Sato.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sato.
Thank you.
We are in the end event, and as we approach the end of today's program, on behalf of organizing committee from Magister Extension and Development Communication, our coordinator Prodi is Mr. Heri.
Ya, thank you Mr. Fuad, thank you Prof. Sato, thank you Bu Ami, thank you Pak Wadi Satu, thank you very much for all.
Thank you all participants.
I would like to express our deepest gratitude to our keynote speaker, our moderator, our director, and all participants for time, contribution, and engagements. Thank you very much for your kindly attention and participation. We officially close today's lecture and learning session series 38 and waiting for the next event. Every month we use this event. You can come to our website pasca.uran.ac.id and our Instagram Sekolah Pasca Sarjana Universitas Andalas. Have a pleasant afternoon and see you again our next session. Thank you.
Arigato
Thank you.
gozaimasu.
Arigato
Thank
gozaimasu.
you very much.
Sensei
Thank
Profesor
you.
Sato. Orang siswa